Mario Johnson arrived at Hudson Valley Community College to become a football player. But when he found that sports were not in the cards for him, he discovered the power of music, and DJ Hollywood was born. How did he get inspired to become a creative freelancer? And what advice does he have for other aspiring DJs? I sat down with Hollywood to find out. DJ Hollywood, welcome to A House for Arts. It's such a pleasure to have you.
Yes, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. Happy New Year.
And Happy New Year to you. So since 2016, you've been getting people to jump and shake it. And I want to come back to the way you develop your craft as a DJ in just a minute. But I'm just curious to know, how did this all begin for you? How did you become a DJ?
So it is a short, long story, but to wrap it up, basically, I came up to upstate New York. I played football in high school, and I had to make a decision on what did I want to do post-high school. And I found Hudson Valley Community College and got that as a recommendation to go there. And from going to the college, long story short, got cut from the football team.
Okay, so you would originally want to play sports, and then you got cut from the football team.
Yeah. So sports was basically my whole entire life. And then coming to college, played football, got cut. Never got cut in my life. And then, going from there to, what did I want to do next? I decided to, stay and finish my degree, my communications degree, and then ended up going to UAlbany and got the chance through WCDB Albany to be on air radio.
So the radio
DJ.
station, so the college radio station.
Yep.
And you had originally come up from Brooklyn, right?
Yeah, yep.
Wow, that's so interesting. So you decided to stay in the area, and it sounds like, this door closed on that sports route that you were thinking of going, but then you saw another one open with radio and with music. So how did that play out? Is there something that you learned about DJing and about, DJing on a radio station that you think would surprise a lot of people?
I would probably say the impact that music has on people's, everyday life. When I started doing the radio station, people were calling in, requesting songs. I would play local artists' songs as well, and just seeing the impact that you have on people's everyday life. Like I said, I've played some people's first time hearing themselves on the radio.
Oh wow! So you've played the work of like emerging local artists as well as like really established artists that are known on a wider geographical level. Can you give maybe one or two examples? Yeah.
So I have a friend he's famous at this point. His name is Capella Gray.
Capella Gray.
Yeah, Capella
okay.
Gray. He has a song called Gallus. It was famous in 2021. Just tapping into talent, from early beginning is, very, important to me.
That's really interesting. So tell me a bit about how you create your playlists then. So you talk about like kind of bringing local artists into the fold, helping build up their visibility, their credibility too, and then really giving them this audience, which is so awesome. How do you go about making a playlist? Like, let's say you're making a dance playlist. How do you know that you found the right thing? And what do you do to craft that?
So it is very tough being a DJ, but I count myself the independent artist enthusiast. And I love, in every set list that I do, I try to sprinkle some independent music in there. But on Instagram, we have social media, we have TikTok now. You hear, repetitively, you'll hear certain songs. So it's like, okay, let me take this one, put it in a playlist.
Right.
But also at the same time, I have a Jamaican background. So, I try to bring that island vibe and the energy into all my playlists. So, between all of those, the independent artists, the Jamaican background, and the TikTok and the Instagram, Facebook as well, putting all that together and just music I also like as well.
That's a buffet of a lot of cool sounds.
Yes.
So you grew up then listening to Jamaican music. Let's go back to that a bit. I mean, did your parents have, music set sight for you or for your future as you were growing up?
Yeah, not really. Growing up, my parents, they listened to music, but it wasn't, a stamp in my childhood, I'd say, from them. I grew up in church. I grew up playing drums. So that was kind of where it, sparked for me. But beyond that, like I said, playing sports, you gotta warm up to some music. And, being from a Caribbean background and being in East Flatbush, New York, you hear all different types of music and, just a variety of nationalities. So, that's kind of where it all, started from for me.
That's really amazing. And I've had imagine that, since you've been really building up your business over the past couple of years, it must have been a really interesting time too to be working during the onset of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Tell me a bit about what are some challenges you ran into, as well as maybe some breakthroughs or new things that you've learned and done and adapted your business to this sort of interruption, if you will.
Yeah, so even in the current situation, we're kind of currently basically still in the pandemic, and it's just making I call it the pandemic pivot. And basically within the pandemic, I realized, I make a living off of gathering people. So from 2020 to basically 2021, it was kind of shunned upon and bringing people together. Ironically, but what I did is I used the internet to my full extent, and I started doing virtual showcases, you'd say.
So virtual showcases, like virtual shows. And then what else do you do? Because I know you don't just play music. Don't you also train other DJs?
Right. So yeah, I would do virtual DJ lessons as well. And from virtual DJ lessons to Housecella on Instagram Live.
What's Housecella? Tell us a bit about that.
So Housecella was basically a concept I came up with a spin-off of Coachella. And, I do independent artist showcases, but I basically do an independent artist showcase via Instagram Live. They split the screen. I would have the artists tune in from wherever they are in the world, which is easier for me. They don't have to travel and come to me.
Amazing.
And and they would perform 3 songs, and people would tune in and have a blast.
That's amazing. What's an example of an artist that's tuned in that really got people listening?
There was Kayami from the UK.
Oh, wow. So these are like international listeners and international artists.
Correct. Yeah, like I said, using social media to my full extent, and like Kayami from the UK, Swift from Brooklyn, Ricky Bandana from Albany, New York. People from all over were tuning in, and and wanted to be a part of it because artists also weren't performing as well.
Right. That's so great that you gave them an outlet for that. And I understand, too, that you've gotten involved with really local events as well, including ones that help raise awareness about violence in the community.
Yep. So my latest campaign is called More Music, Less Violence. And, the music we hear now, it's a lot of, I call it rah-rah, where, it's not a lot of stuff being said.
Is this your term? Because I kind of love it, rah-rah.
I feel like the hip-hop culture would get what I mean if I say rah-rah music. And you could also call it popcorn music because it comes and it goes. It's really, really quick, like popcorn.
Okay.
So, with that being said, a lot of music is very negative in a sense, or looked upon as negative. So I try to find artists who have 1, positive music, and 2, no curse words. And that's kind of like one of the guidelines for the More Music, Less Violence showcases that I started.
Right. And you believe, Hollywood, that having this kind of music that's more positive, that's maybe more uplifting, has a better impact on listeners? Yeah,
without a doubt. Within the past 2 years, we've gone through a lot. So, with having a positive message and giving people a takeaway, I feel like it definitely benefits, everyone, the artists, the listeners, and myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what kind of advice then do you have for other aspiring DJs out there? I know, for instance, that branding is such an important part of your business.
Yes, it is.
As a DJ and as a musician. What kind of advice do you have for other DJs out there that are listening right now?
So my advice would be to be yourself. Find your passion, find your purpose, and, follow them. And, I have a famous quote. It's, don't force it, find it. And, like I said, find what you love to do and see how you could, make a living from it. It's not guaranteed, but, you miss 100% of shots that you don't shoot. Right.
Thank you so much for offering that wonderful insight and for sharing your story.
Thank you for having me. Yes.
Such a pleasure to have you.
Likewise. Yeah. It's more than music.
More than music.